Hi, this is Reg Athwal, and welcome to our channel for another exciting episode of Family Business Legacies, where I've got a chance to interview a senior member of a family business that's just celebrated its 60th year. Most family businesses don't even get to second, let alone third generation. This is a third generation family business, a huge success story, and it's a real pleasure to have one of the senior members of this family with me today, Dr. Manoj Shah. So let me give everyone a brief introduction before we bring our guest on the show and just share with you a couple of his most significant achievements. He is the Group Managing Director for Kingsway Group of Companies. You'll see a couple of the brands there on the screen. These are only a few of them in the portfolio, but we've got Kingsway Tyres, which is the family legacy business. We've got Kingsway Investments, Properties, Creative Innovations, a growth management business. We've got the Kingsway Foundation, Tribe Hotel, Trademark Hotel, the list goes on. Outside of the operating businesses, Dr. Manoj Shah is someone who's heavily involved in the non-profit world, in charitable institutions. He's working very closely as the chairman of MP Shah Hospital Social Service League, and he can tell us more about that in the show. The Automobile Association of Kenya also sits as the chairman of Tribe Hotel, just to name a few. And he's also the vice chairman of the Lion's Eye Hospital. It's an absolute pleasure, Dr. Manoj Shah, to have you on the show. Welcome. And congratulations, 60 years.
Thank you very much, Reg, for inviting me to this show and to share our legacy of 60 years. So I really appreciate that. Thank you.
So where did it all start, Dr. Manoj? When, in terms of the generations before, how did the whole business start?
60 years to many may sound a long time, and 60 years to a few may sound a short time. But our legacy is 60 years old. My late father started our business in the year 1960, and he started off with a small duka selling second-hand tires in the city of Nairobi in the country of Kenya. And that was the humble beginning, which my father built a very strong foundation for all of us, the second generation, third generation, and the fourth generation that we will be talking to a bit later on. So our journey of 60 years goes back to the year 1960, when Kenya was still a former British colony. And in the colonial times, the business that my father started was actually on a road that was called Kingsway Road. And hence the name Kingsway was derived from that name.
That's great.
It's since the colonial times that we have had this brand name of Kingsway that we have built up over the last 60 years.
And can I ask you, Dr. Manoj, back in those days, thinking about how most businesses start, with your father and obviously with your brothers, quite a big family, was it an automatic thing, which is, hey, you're all going to get involved in the business, come to the outlet or come to the shop, let's get started? What was that culture, the environment like, all living in the same home and building this business? Could you tell us a few stories that you can remember?
Sure. In fact, my father started off the business in the year 1960, and it was actually 16 years later that I had an opportunity, first out of all the three siblings, to join my father's business. Excellent. It was not out of choice, it was not by desire, but it was by the circumstances at that point in time. My father started the business started building up, and unfortunately, my father's health started deteriorating at that point in time. I had just finished school, and at that time, there was a need for continuity of the family business that my father had started.
Right.
And my elder brother at that point in time was studying in London, and we did not want to disrupt his studies and bring him over here to help my father. My younger brother was still in school and was not ready to take over the family business. And hence, that left the only person who had to support my father at that point in time, at a very tender age of 16, was none other than me. I
Was that
finished.
frightening for you? Was it scary or not? Did you just take it
It
on
was
board and get on with it?
it was certainly a challenge. It was certainly a little bit of scary at the initial phases because I really did not know what I was getting into, and really to support a business without any advice, without any support, is sometimes not the most desirable thing to be done. It was like I was thrown in the deep end. I
Yeah.
had to get in there. I had to make the business work,
Mm.
and no matter what, I had to support my father who was ailing in health,
And
and
this
that's
all
how.
started from one small outlet selling tires.
That's right, and that's the outlet that I joined first out of all the three brothers to support my father. And 4 years later, my father passed away, and when I was 20, I took over the family business. Fortunately for me, my elder brother came in from London
Mhm.
and joined me. And between both of us,
Mm.
we had to sustain the family business before we thought about growing the family business to what it is today.
And just to put that into context, Dr. Manoj, today, 60 years later, celebrating since the founding of the business, there are now how many family members, including all spouses, children in total?
So at this point in time, our extended family is 36 family members,
Mhm.
all involved under one family business.
That's amazing.
Uh, yes. So my father had five brothers. So all his children are in the family business.
Mhm.
We have the third generation that has already joined the family business, and
Mm.
the fourth generation is now coming into the family business.
Now it's
So that
interesting how sorry to interrupt. It's interesting how some family businesses when they get to third generation. And by the way, for the viewers, only 12 to 15% of families get to third generation. So the Kingsway family is now planning for the fourth generation. Only 3% of families get to that level. And I know they have a strong foundation to definitely go to fourth and fifth generation, which I'm definitely going to ask Dr. Manoj a few questions on. But I'm curious, Dr. Manoj, where some family businesses stick with their core business and they never diversify. How did the growth come along to go from the tire business, which is still the core for the family and it's the DNA of the family, but since then you've expanded into many other industries. How did that come about? And maybe you could tell us a bit about partnerships as well, because I know as a family you have huge strength in how to build good partnerships, which most people fail in.
so as I mentioned earlier on, uh, I came into the business. My elder brother joined the business. My younger brother Sanjay joined the business, and between the three of us, we managed to sustain our business in the 80s, and our growth actually started late 80s and early 90s. That was a time when the tire business was a sustainable business, and between the three of us, we
Mhm.
decided that let's go into an expansion plan. We saw a lot of opportunities out there, and the opportunity to grow was a reality at that point in time.
Right.
So each one of us brothers took one arm of the business and
So,
started growing that business. My younger brother went into development of properties. He had a very big interest in the finance sector, in the hospitality sector. My elder brother was a visionary. He was very good at partnerships. So when we talk about partnerships, one of the biggest growths that we have had is because of the formidable partnerships that we have formed over a period of time that has led to the growth of our family business.
mm,
So partnerships has really played a critical and a vital role
mm,
uh, in the expansion program of many of our group companies.
yeah. And you've done that with very successfully for people who don't know Kenya well. If you ever go to Kenya and ask any Kenyan, where is the village market? People will tell you immediately. And also the iconic Tribe Hotel, and now a new addition to the portfolio is the Trademark Hotel. But probably, I mean, I don't know how big is Village Market now with all the expansion, Dr. Manoj. I mean, this is one of the biggest in Africa, let alone Kenya.
Yes. our shopping mall, after the renovations that we completed 2 years ago, is one of the biggest shopping malls that we have in sub-Saharan Africa.
Mhm.
It boasts of over 350 specialty outlets.
Wow.
It has 42 eating outlets, and it has got a host of other features, including a unique hotel that is inscribed within the mall. It's
Right.
one of a kind mall, which has also tremendous entertainment opportunities that makes it significantly different from all the other malls in Africa.
Yeah.
So this
That's
is a
great.
mall with a
Well, I visited it numerous times, and it is phenomenal. Just the length of it, the size of it, the number of outlets. As a family with your partners, you're being first in many things to do with that mall and what you're providing for families in the area. So hats off to you. But one of the things with that partnership, where two families have come together in one of those portfolio companies there. Could you tell us a bit about how do you make sure that you get partnerships right? What makes partnerships work? What 2 or 3 tips could you give our viewers that are thinking of going into partnership with a friend, or some other third party? What's your views on that to get it right?
So, of course, with all partnerships, there is the formal side of partnerships, which is the formal shareholders agreement and the formal documentation that goes with any partnership venture. But more important than that, I am a strong believer that partnerships can really work if, number one, if the minds meet, number two, if there is trust between the partners or the families that are venturing into the same business, and number three, if the partners have the same vision for growth. If these 3 components are put together in a basket, it can make a very formidable and strong partnership for any venture.
Fantastic. Brilliant. And what about boards, Dr. Manoj? You sit on 8 or 9 different boards, both profit, non-profit. You do a lot for the communities in Kenya and also globally with the Lions Foundation. So could you tell us about, when it comes to family boards and business boards, how do you ensure you get that piece right? There's a lot of families out there that could be at second generation or even first generation, where their board meeting is essentially sitting around the dinner table every day. They call that a board meeting, and we know that's not a board meeting. So what are some of the things to put in place to make sure you've got an effective board, and what are the benefits for doing this?
One of the things, of course, I must thank you, Reg, is for supporting and assisting all our group companies and restructuring our boards. In my opinion, a board is only as successful as the members who are sitting in that board. How do they participate, and what is their devotion and the quality of time that they devote to the board? It is pointless to have meetings if the meetings are not structured. It's pointless to have meetings if the meeting has no direction or vision. And what I have seen is, in order to have a successful board meeting, it's very important that we have structured board meetings with a defined agenda to ensure that the ground rules are in place, to make sure that everybody is aware of what the discussion items are on the table. And most important and most critical of all, what are the decisions that are going to be made, and how are the decisions going to be followed or executed? We can have hours and hours of board meeting, but if decisions are not made, if they are not executed, if they are not followed, that board meeting is a waste of time.
Yeah, absolutely spot on.
That's the most important component.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely spot on. So really good tips there for the viewers. And we talked about the business side. Let's talk a bit about the family piece. I mentioned the stats earlier of why a lot of families don't move from one generation to the next. And a lot of it is down to the unity and the harmony and the communication. Could you share with the viewers who may not be familiar with the concept of a family council? You're the chairman of your family's family council as well. What does that look like? What does it typically involve? And again, what are the benefits of doing that? And then how does it lead to activities and other things that brings the family together?
So once again, I would really like to thank you for supporting us to make our family council. And to all the viewers out there, if we were ever to succeed with our extended family of 36 members, it is only so because we have a structure in place, and that structure is called the family council. We have built this structure up right from the ground. We have built this structure by consensus of all the family units and all the family members put together. And what we have done is we have put a family document, a family constitution in place that has been signed by each and every family member. Now, what that has done in terms of bringing all of our family together, it has united our family more than ever before. All the problems that we used to have previously, the difference of opinions that we used to have, the thinking that some members of the family were less equal than others, the feeling of not being wanted in the family business or in the family, and all the other social issues that were related to the family were all solved by this document that was made by consensus. In fact, we took every family member's input in building up the family constitution. We have implemented the family constitution. We have executed it by the dot and the T. And now that family constitution is the driving factor of anything and everything that we do in the family. And luckily, touch wood, we have put this constitution, it's almost 7 years in place. It is working like magic. We haven't deviated from it at all. The biggest beneficiaries are the third generation and the fourth generation who are coming into the family business. There is a defined criteria of how they need to do an MBA and how they're going to be incorporated into the family business. The family constitution defines what the shareholding is, how the family is going to work in unity. What is it that we are going to do and what is it that we are not allowed to do as per the family constitution. So I think that family document has really brought us all together, and it is actually the driving force towards us growing at a much more rapid and faster pace in our family business.
Congratulations again, Dr. Manoj, because I think there's a lot of families out there that do have constitutions, but then something goes wrong, they don't implement it. And I think the key words you've mentioned there is implementation and execution. If you haven't really bought into that document and then don't act on it, then what's the point? And I think a lot of families that I've come across out there that I've spoken to that already have a constitution, it was more like a tick, we've got one. And that's not what this is about. This is about implementation, execution for many generations. But you touched on the family council. Could you expand on why is it important to have frequency of whether it's lunches or dinners or other events, celebration of things within the business with the family? Could you touch on a few examples of what the family have done over the years, which has become part of your culture, part of the DNA of the family, where it's almost expected that this is going to happen every year?
Sure. So some of the aspects that we have put in our family constitution are maybe unique to other families, but for our families, it works like magic. One of the things that we have in our family constitution is that once a month, the whole entire family must get together on a rotational basis at one of the family units with a view of socializing and discussing all our family and social values. And this has really worked very well over the past few years. And every family member, every month, looks forward to this meeting. At the same time, we have also gone down and drilled down to smaller details of how to share and care for other family members. Just to give you an example, an extreme example, that if a family member is sick, how do other family members treat and support that family member who is critically sick or who is sick in the family and needs support? And on the brighter side, if somebody is turning 50, how do we as a family support him and as a family prescribe and say that that family member, the day he attends 50 years, the family is going to give him a party and the gift is going to be valued at X thousand dollars.
Yeah.
So
Very
these
powerful.
are
Yeah. Very powerful.
these are some of the examples that I would just like to share that brings family unity together and does not really demonstrate any inequality amongst any family members.
Yeah, and I think you've trained the next generation well, where they're taking ownership now, with organizing these things. So there's a sense of belonging, and I think a lot of families in today's world, if you don't have that sense of belonging with the spouses, with the boys and the girls, even extended family members, if you don't have that, there's going to be a problem at some stage. So I think you've created a phenomenal sense of belonging. I think there's always something to celebrate when it comes to Kingsway Group and the Kingsway family. So keep doing that. And could you touch on briefly, what is the value of family forums or family retreats?
So in our family constitution, we have made it mandatory that biannually we must have a family retreat where all the family members get together at a centrally located point. So far, we have had, over the last 10 years, we have had 7 family retreats. We were going to have 1 family retreat this year. Unfortunately, due to the COVID crisis, I don't think it's going to take place. But we did have a virtual World Family Retreat of the entire Kingsway family, bringing 136 members of our family together on a virtual platform for 90 minutes. Wow. It was the most glorious family moment for each and every family member to come together from all over the world: Canada, London, Australia, Mombasa, Dubai. Wow. And it brought everybody together on this virtual platform. But talking about a family retreat, to me, I think it's extremely important that once every year or once every 18 months, if we really want a family to thrive, we must have a family retreat where we bring all the extended family members together, bring in the generations together with a view of and a purpose in that family retreat. Number one, which is most important, is disseminating information as to what is happening in the family and in the family business. Sometimes we assume that everybody knows everything, but you'll be surprised that having large families, a lot of people are not aware of what is happening on the right side or on the left side.
That's right.
Secondly, a family retreat is one of the most fantastic avenues where family members can actually come in and contribute their ideas and issues. And at the same time, if there are any burning issues, every family is not ideal. I don't want to lie to you. And every family is not without problems, but it is an avenue where family members can freely come up with their suggestions, with their ideas, with their issues, where other family members can contribute and see how to solve them.
Yeah, that's great.
And lastly, family retreats, again, is a great opportunity for shared learning. And when we have great speakers and presenters like Reg and others, I think they add tremendous value to family retreats where the entire family can benefit from this.
Yeah, I think, again, lots to learn for people who are watching this about, putting some of these things in place. And one of the things picking up, Dr. Manoj, is you're absolutely right. No family is perfect. I had just an issue yesterday with my daughter. There's always things that come out. However, if you've got the constitution in place, regular communication, and you've got a framework there, an understanding with the family to go, okay, if something comes up, this is the steps that we go through. And everybody's part of that, you can end up resolving those issues fairly quickly. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely right. Because you have a structure that is inbuilt, and for every problem, there's a solution that has been designed in the family constitution as how do we address this particular area.
So let's move on to another topic, Dr. Man. Sorry to interrupt you, is succession, okay? I think you've got a phenomenal case study where if you think about Kingsway Tyres, from the first member who joined that business with your late father, and then expanding that business, you then took the leadership role, and you were in that leadership role as CEO, managing director, for how many years?
So now it's my 46th year in the business. And out of my 46th year, I've spent almost 39 years or 38 years actively in the tire business before I gave it up.
That's phenomenal. I think tires is in your blood. Okay. But what I wanted to pick up on, Dr. Manoj, and there's no right or wrong way of doing this, but at some point, a senior family member, part of the founding team who've grown the business, there is always a time, whether we like it or not, where we have to hand the baton to the next generation. And it's not easy. With my case studies around the world, you sort of build a succession plan, but at the same time, you have to build another plan for the senior members as well. Otherwise, it's almost like heart destroying. If you're doing something for 35 years every day and you're in your office, people are lining up to come and see you, there's significance there, then suddenly one day they're not queuing up to see you anymore. They're moving to the other office where succession has happened. So could you tell us a bit about your thoughts on succession? What have been some of the learnings and tips for the viewers if they're thinking about their son, their daughter, and handing over the baton?
Absolutely right. And for me, I think succession planning is absolutely important for any business to survive through the generations and to carry on. Traditionally, what has happened in family business is that if there is one family member who is successful in any business, he carries on forever, he carries on for eternity, and really leaving very little room for succession planning or for other family members to scale up. However, in my case, I realized after putting in 35 years of tremendous hard work in the tire business that I had actually done my bit. Mm-hmm. I had played my part in mentoring and training the next generation to come into the business. And now was the time to hand over the baton and to ensure that the succession planning works extremely well in favor of the family and in favor of the family business. With a very positive mind, I handed over the baton almost 8 years ago to the next generation of our family, and with a very, very positive mind that, yes, I really want to make my successor more successful than me. If I can do that, then I will deem myself to be a successful leader in my family.
Yeah.
So that was the attitude that I took, and I took it upon myself that I want to make sure that my successor is going to be better than me. So over the last 8 years, it's been a great journey, and I'm really extremely happy with the results that I've seen in the succession planning. I've handed over the baton. I've trained my successor extremely well. And one of the things that I've learned is to give autonomy, to make sure that they work independently, and to make sure they're given an opportunity to do whatever is best for the business. They will make mistakes. Out of 10, if they can get 8 things right, at least they move forward. And by learning mistakes, they learn faster and they learn harder.
Yeah, that's good. I think there's some valuable lessons there, which is, first of all, if someone's done it for 35, 40 years, you can't expect the next generation just to be able to take over immediately. I mean, a good succession plan these days can take 5 to 10 years. But some people do it prematurely within a couple of years and expect miracles, which doesn't happen. I think credit to you, Dr. Manoj, as well, and some of the other members in your family, because, handing over is one thing, but at the same time, you've got to develop a new purpose for yourself, where you've still played that mentoring role at board level, which is fantastic as a group managing director for Kingsway Tires and chairman of other companies. But I'd love to pick up on the non-profit side, where it seems, looking at everything on social media and all the things that you're doing, it's incredible. I can't even keep up with you, where literally every day or every other day you're doing something else in the community and giving back. So I'm trying to pick up on almost a positive here, where or from a negative. The negative could be, oh, damn, I've got to hand over. This is what I've been doing all of my life. But then if it's done successfully with the other hand, you can create new possibility and new purpose. And you've done that. So could you share with us a little bit about what you do on the charity side, non-profit side, and why do you do it?
So Thank you very much. I think that's a very important question. After putting in so many years of hard work in growing the family business, sometimes there comes a point in your life where you say that, yes, let me divert my mind, as now succession planning has taken place. I do have a little more free time. And how do I make the most effective use of my time? And mentally, I prepared myself with the inspiration of my late mother, who was a great philanthropist. In fact, a lot of my philanthropic work has been inspired by my late mother. My late mother was a great social worker, and she was a very devotee believer of Mother Teresa. In fact, she used to volunteer to work in the Mother Teresa's home, and Mother Teresa has actually recognized her efforts.
Fantastic.
So a lot of my philanthropic work comes from that angle. Having said that, philanthropy, which has been instilled in me by my late mother, has now become a way of life for me. Every day, I must do something for somebody else to make lives better in the communities that we live. And two of the platforms that I've chosen to carry out my philanthropic work, one is the Lions Clubs International, which is one of the best platforms that I have ever joined. And this platform has given me an opportunity to give my devotion, my time, my energy, and my resources to help the needy and the less fortunate members in the society. On the other hand, I've also had the privilege of going into the health sector, where I'm the chairman of 2 hospitals, and working in these 2 hospitals, giving my time and devotion, we've been able to help a lot of needy people. So these are some of the areas that I do spend a lot of my time now.
That's really good. And out of those 2 areas, 3 areas, what are you most proud of to date with some of the things that you've done? I know you've done a lot, but what are you most proud of?
So looking at the eye hospital that I've worked with over the last 20 years that I've been working in the eye hospital, I am so proud that I've been able to give sight to over 2 million needlessly blind people.
Wow.
Looking at the MP Shah Hospital, I've been the chairman of the hospital for the last 10 years. From a small nursing home, I've grown it into one of the best hospitals or medical institutions that we have in the sub-Saharan Africa.
Brilliant.
Of course, I could go end to end and share with you many of the achievements and accomplishments that we have made in the philanthropic field. But these are some of the few that I'm really proud of.
That's brilliant. Congratulations again. I mean, phenomenal success there. Keep doing what you're doing, because I think you're an inspiration to many family businesses, but also, like I said, it goes back to succession on one hand, but on the other hand, it doesn't mean retirement. It could mean renewed purpose. And like you said, you wake up every day enthusiastic, fire in your belly still, going, what can I do today to make a difference? And I think we should never lose that. I think when someone hands over and doesn't have a new purpose, I've seen people's health deteriorate, and because they've got no purpose anymore. So I think for young members in a family business, just be aware of that it's not just about them handing over. Make sure that in parallel, we revive them and give them life back in another area. So talk to us about mentoring and coaching. If you think about heading towards 4th generation now, and maybe 5th, after that 5th generation, what are some of the building blocks now in how to mentor the next generation successfully? You're a great natural mentor. What tips could you give viewers on how to get that bit right?
Sure. So I'm a very, very firm believer that the mentoring process is a very important process, especially for the young generation. And when we talk about bringing the young generation into the family business, it's absolutely important that we guide them in the right direction. We mentor them, and they must go through a process, an MBA, before they join the family business. Because sometimes if you bring in people and put them on a golden plate, they may not appreciate what they have really gone into. But if they climb the ladder, they will appreciate where they have gone.
And you're talking
And
about an
whenever
internal MBA,
yes.
not necessarily an external.
No, internal family MBA. Every family member goes through an internal family MBA. And one of the first things that I always tell young people that I mentor, the first thing that I tell them is that listen to me and believe in me that there is no shortcut to success. You cannot go into the elevator and press the 25th floor and expect to be there in 20 seconds. If you really want to be successful, you must learn how to climb the stairs step by step, and it takes time to be successful. You need to have a lot of patience and determination. And if they can understand that simple philosophy or that simple concept, I can only assure you that is the first step towards their success.
Yeah, and I think, what I've also seen you do as part of your internal MBA, which I think viewers can also pick up on, is not just all about having 20, 30 family members all in the same business. There's a portfolio of companies, but I think what you've also done successfully, Dr. Manoj, is encourage the next generation to incubate new ideas. And a few of them have been extremely successful in launching other businesses, which is great, rather than the same mistake that I've seen made time and time again in family businesses, which is everyone just keeps joining the same legacy business. And you know what happens then? Decisions don't get made properly. There's almost this delay in getting things done. So well done. And any other tips you can share on if next gen members are going to incubate new businesses? What are some of the things that you should be aware of, and how should you guide them through that process?
So one of the things that I would really like to recommend, and what has really worked for us well, especially for bringing in the next gen into the business, like you rightly said, use their talents and strength to the best of what you want them to do in the family business, right? Because I think that's very, very important. Because sometimes all family members are not at the same level.
That's right.
So we must find the strength and weaknesses of every family member and put them into a suitable place in the family business where we know they will not only succeed, but they will also grow in their personal careers, and they will help the business to grow. At the same time, when we are bringing in the next gen into the family business, it's also a great idea, which has worked for us well, is to give them an opportunity to come up with their own ideas, to incubate new ideas. And what we have done in our family constitution, we've even set aside a fund. If there's any great idea that comes in from the next gen, if they incubate a new idea, we give them some seed money to run with that project to see whether it succeeds or not. And believe me or not, out of every 10 projects that have been incubated, at least 7 of them have come up to fruition, and they are growing. So I think if you don't give the youngsters the opportunity to grow, they will never grow. And family businesses, that's the biggest mistake we make by not giving them this opportunity.
Exactly. And also, I think, not to confuse the audience, that doesn't always have to be an incubation of a brand new business. It could be an extension to the core business. It could be going to a new market. It could be the next gen. I've got some tech idea to bolt onto the core business. So there's many ways of doing this, isn't there? It's not just one way.
Absolutely. I mean, businesses are evolving faster than we ever think. And really, it is the next gen who come up with innovation, technology, and new ideas. And if they can bring in, add value to whatever we are doing in our existing businesses, let's give them an opportunity, let them run with it.
Can I ask you, going back to the non-profit side, as a family, you've also set up your own foundation. So if someone's listening to this right now and thinking, okay, we need to professionalize what we're doing, but we also have this big heart where we want to give back. It's not about the money anymore. We've got the wealth. We want to give back to society and the communities. What are some of the things that they should consider when trying to put together a foundation? What tips could you leave them with?
So one of the structures that every family business must put in place is a foundation. because a foundation really helps you to create and add value to your brand name. We have created the Kingsway Foundation, and our foundation is based on certain principles. Like we have the family constitution, we have also set up a constitution for the foundation as to, number one, what is the percentage amount of funding that the foundation will get annually from the group companies or the businesses that we run. Because without finance, you will not be able to do anything in terms of corporate social responsibility. Number two, if you really want a foundation to work, the foundation must be free to foster partnerships. Because today, in my philanthropic work, what I've learned is you can do bigger and better things if you do them through partnerships. So the foundation must allow you to do to carry out partnerships.
Could you give us an example of that, Dr. Manoj? One example of partnerships and foundations?
So when we talk about partnerships and foundations, like our foundation is very heavily involved in educating the youth and bringing literacy to young children in the villages. So what we have done is we have partnered with another organization. It's actually a bank, where the bank brings in an added value and where the Kingsway Foundation brings in the support structure and the workforce on the ground to implement the program.
Right.
So if we can get a partnership like that, that can really be successful. Last week, we launched the White Cane program for people who are visually impaired. Our program is to initiate 20,000 white canes to the visually impaired people in the country of Kenya.
Right.
And we are very happy that Safaricom has partnered with us. Safaricom is one of the biggest mobile service providers in the company. And they said that for every white cane that you give to a visually impaired person in the times of COVID, we will actually give him a family hamper.
Wow. Okay.
So you can understand how partnerships work.
Yeah, that's great. And sorry, I came in there. That was point two. You're about to make your next point, but thanks for giving the example on partnerships with the foundation. I think there was a third. Was there a third point you were going to make about foundation? Sorry.
So, yes, and foundations are only as successful as to the vision that you have in a foundation. So our vision is very, very clear. Our foundation is going to work with children, education, health, and sanitation. So those are the core areas which our foundation is going to work for. And the area that I would really like to mention now is that in any family foundation that you create, ensure that you try and involve as many family members as possible together in carrying out the projects or activities of that foundation, because it is the family that appreciates the foundation and not anybody else.
Yeah, that's great. Some really good tips, well done. And again, for those of you watching, I'll make sure in the description area with the episode video, check it out. There'll be a direct link there to Dr. Manoj's LinkedIn profile, also the company websites, the group details, so you can find out more about the operating business side, but also the non-profit side and the foundation. Lastly, with the time we've got left, Dr. Manoj, before we wrap up, the future. If you look at the next 60 years for the Kingsway family, what do you see?
To be very honest, I see us being established on the moon. Infinity is really the right word for the growth of our group. We have got great business advisors who have been working with our family business. We are very fortunate that the third generation and the fourth generation are coming into the family business. And we have already got a strategic plan of where we want to be in the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and 20 years. And we are following that strategic plan. And we can certainly see a tremendous growth. And most probably in the next 60 years, we will definitely not only double, but maybe grow tenfold as the Kingsway Group of Companies. We will have a long legacy, and I only hope and pray that some of the family members are there to appreciate it.
Yeah, and I think obviously most of us may not be around in 60 years' time, but unless we get frozen and brought back, who knows? But I think Kingsway Family, as we call it, and what's interesting here, by the way, even though Shah is the family name, surname, for those of you watching, you may be thinking, how does that work? Well, there are certain parts of the world where the business brand takes over and eventually becomes the family brand. So you are known as the Kingsway family, not necessarily the Shah family, which is incredible. That's quite unique, isn't it, in Kenya?
Absolutely right. Because of our brand name, we are not known as the Shahs. We are known as the Kingsway brothers or the Kingsway family. So in anything and everything that we do, people know us as the Kingsway brothers.
I always like to squeeze one more thing out of the interviews, and that is, I just want to ask you, why is it important to build good relationships? Because I know this is a core part of who you are, which has built the family brand over the years, as well as other family members doing the same. And tell us, what are some of the things that one should be doing to build great relationships, and why is it important through good times as well as bad times?
I personally believe that relationships is one of the biggest factors in the growth of our family business, and also for my personal growth. It is actually the relationships that build businesses. It is actually the relationships that makes you grow, and it is actually relationships that can take you further to where you want to be in whatever you want to do. It's very important in today's times to build up as many relationships as possible. And believe me or not, traditionally for the last 60 years, my father, my grandfathers, my generation, and even the next generations, if they are ever to succeed or to survive, it's only going to be because of the relationships that they develop today. And not only develop today, but relationships also need to be maintained, nurtured, and looked after. Yeah. Then only they work to the optimum.
And what is the secret sauce then for building good relationships? What's the one or two things as part of your discipline that you do to keep a good relationship or create one and maintain it? What is that secret sauce?
Like I mentioned about partnerships, the same thing applies to relationships. As long as you are honest in your relationships with the people that you deal with, you have minds that meet, and you are open about what you want to do and what you want to achieve, those are the strongest relationships that last for a long, long time.
Yeah, beautiful. And if we were to close off, Dr. Manoj, if there's one last bit of wisdom that you wanted to share, that, I always say to people, there's things that we absolutely know, and there's things that we don't know, okay, in life. But based on your wisdom and experience, if you were to leave us with one more message, what's one thing you absolutely know? You know this, and this could be something that you can share with the viewers that could help them.
To be very, very honest, I am actually a very firm believer that the world is changing every day at a very rapid pace. Keep your mind open and really embrace the change on a day-to-day basis, and you will never go wrong.
Beautiful. Well, on that note, I want to thank you very much. God bless you and your family. Look forward to the next 60 years as the journey unfolds, and we look forward to doing this again in the near future. Thank you very much, Dr. Manoj Shah.
Thank you very much, Reg, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all. Have a great day.